Between the ages of 4 and 6, I was being bullied a lot in school. But there was one particular instance where I felt that sense of depression come over me. And of course, I couldn't describe it at the time. But it was the first incident I can identify where I started to feel that way. It was one day where my friends and I, we were learning to ride our bikes. 3 of us, 2 out of the 3, me being one of the 2, didn't have our fathers with us. But one of my friends, who had an active father in his life, had his father out there that took off his training wheels and taught him how to ride his bike, no matter how much he stumbled, no matter how much he fell, no matter how much he wobbled. His father was there for him to teach him to get back on that bike, and eventually he took off on his own. And at the time, that's when I felt that sadness come over me. And even before this video, I asked myself, what was it particularly that made me sad about that incident? Was it that my father wasn't there? Was it that I was envious of my friend? Or was it something else? Now, I'd say that was the first time that I've felt depression. And I think for me, what hit me about that particular incident is that if I had to explain it, it would be that here it is, you have a boy that he's eventually gonna have to go out into the world and be on his own. He's gonna have to take those training wheels off. He's gonna have to go through life. He's gonna stumble. He's gonna zigzag. He might fall, but he's always gonna have somebody there that's gonna help him through it and help him get back on that bike and ride straight down the path he's supposed to go. Now that's kind of what hit me and made me realize with the whole issue of mental health and depression and dealing with this as an artist. There's things that I've gone through, things that I'm currently going through, things that will happen. And there's nobody there to pick me up and put me back on the bike and go straight down that path. I'm on my own. But the one saving grace has always been my artwork. Even throughout high school when I was getting bullied, because I was an overweight kid during high school, but even through high school when I was getting bullied, and I got deeper into my depression, and then I started having thoughts of harming myself, harming others, and then I got into things like cutting. But again, I fell off, I stumbled, I got back up, went straight back to my artwork. Fast forward throughout life, the depression stayed there. Depression is one of those things, once it pops up, it doesn't go away. There's no medication or anything that's gonna make it just completely vanish. It just appears and it's there. But there's always been, for lack of a better word, that father figure of artwork that I can go to and confide in, express my thoughts, get my feelings out, and kind of put things in perspective. Now, this video, it's not about, dealing with depression as an artist from the standpoint of artist block and not being able to come up with ideas. All of that's easily fixed, right? This is more of a standpoint of when you have mental health issues, when you deal with depression daily, or you might be dealing with anxiety or thoughts of harm. How do you deal with that? Well, for me, it's been incorporating it into my work. If you look back at my work that I've done throughout high school and a bit after, a lot of it is very dark imagery. A lot of it, people will say, is demonic. A lot of it will make people uncomfortable. But it was very important for me to do that at that time because I knew what I was feeling. Even though I couldn't explain it, I can represent it visually. And a lot of people didn't understand it. A lot of people turned away from it, but it gave me some comfort. Funny enough, I had to do a project in high school, and I just put one of these images out there, and the teacher loved it. I actually ended up getting a 97%, I believe, for that project. But I think she was more so impacted of my explanation behind it. It was basically a scenery of hell, and the high school being a jail, being a jail, being a jail, and just not really liking where I was at. And part of the reason was of course the bullying, but I moved to a different area. I moved away from my friends. Only like 2 of my friends ended up going to that high school. So it was a completely new experience for me, and it was a struggle. The first 2 years of high school were a struggle for me. And then, I started really finding myself, and, started becoming my own person. But I think she really enjoyed more so the explanation of things, and that I was able to express myself in a manner that didn't come off obvious at first. But then when I tell her what it's about, then she can see it and almost feel my emotion that I put out there. And that's why I think I scored high on that project, actually. But the reason why I bring all that up is that you artists watching this, it's very important for you to express these things in your artwork. I know some of you might not know how, some of you might be struggling with exactly how to do that, or might even be afraid to do that because of what people may think. I'd say it's important for you to get these thoughts out in your artwork, even if it means you keeping it to yourself. Some of the things that I've done, I've kept to myself. I haven't put out into the world. In terms of my artwork, I haven't put it out to the world. I kept to myself. But the reason why I say it's important for you to do this is that it's almost like a mental exercise. So you're exercising these thoughts, right? So think of it as like physical exercise. You might be tense and stressed, and then you go and work out, and now you're feeling a bit better. You might go for a walk or a jog or lift weights, whatever have you. It's the same thing with artwork. Not only are you expressing or showing your artistic ability and showing your craft, but you're also expressing your thoughts and giving yourself a mental exercise. This is about mental health issues, right? So you see how the artwork can be a mental exercise. It's very important that whenever you're going through the most low points in your life, that you try and capture it somehow. This has helped me a lot. And it's why, or not why, but it's how this piece came along. I felt so compelled to make this piece. I have, typically when I work, I have like 3, sometimes 4, which is extreme, pieces going at once. And I'm working between all of them. And I was doing that, and I've been having this overwhelming feeling, and I think all of us have been having that in 2020. I don't think there's anybody that has been having an easy year, not just with, the external global issues, but also the internal issues and the personal issues, whether it be family, friends, health, what have you. So all these things going on, and I felt this overwhelmingness of just pressure and stress. And I was like, I need to capture this. Like, I need to do a piece that's going to speak to the time that I'm living in and the feelings that I'm having at the current moment. And this is how this came along. Now, on my Instagram, I go more in depth with something I call the Superman effect, where it relates to this piece. But just to touch on it a bit, with Superman, he's an alien. He's able to come to Earth, or he came to Earth. He's able to live amongst us, partake in our culture, interact with everybody. But at any given moment, Superman is able to leave Earth if things get too rough for him, or he needs to gather himself. He can leave the Earth and gather himself, get his thoughts together. He can have a moment of peace. And I think that's what a lot of us want when we deal with mental health issues, and especially everything happening globally, is that sometimes we just want that one brief moment where we can exit the planet. Not that we want to harm ourselves or anything, but we just want to be away from everything. You know, even if it's family, friends, loved ones, what have you, the social media, we want to be away from everything and just be alone and have that moment of peace where we don't have to worry about stress. We don't have to worry about anything. We want that moment where we can breathe. And of course, none of us are Superman. None of us can leave this planet. But right around again, we can find a bit of that in our artwork. We can find a bit of dealing with our depression by creating pieces that speak to how we're feeling and put it in our artwork. And like I said, many people might not understand it, but I guarantee you some people looking at the pieces that you create will feel that emotion. And especially when you explain it, they'll start to grasp who you are, and they might even be going through things where they don't know how to deal with it, and you putting out your piece or explaining it to them will show them how to deal with what they're going through, or give them a sense of comfort, or give them a sense of wanting to speak up and be open. So I don't think I got much more to say about this piece, but I thought it was very important to put this out there because a lot of artists deal with mental health issues and depression. And I wanted this piece to serve as almost like documenting not only what I'm going through and how I'm feeling, but how a lot of you might be feeling and what a lot of you might want, which is just a moment of peace. So that's it for the video. Check me on Instagram because I got the other explanation for this piece, but I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.